Hi folks, John Cordisco here. Just want to show you some of the highlights of Day 2 and Ultimate Blitz with Gary Kasparov. I really enjoyed these a lot. These games are epic, and I brought some of the highlights to you just to show you what a great game, how exciting chess can really be. I hope you enjoy them, and if you can subscribe to my channel, I'd appreciate it. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
On d6 3 times.
That's right, and stopping any kind of little ideas like queen d5 that we might have in the position.
Right.
So now
the Indians are giving takes on c7 right now. After all, that pawn is hanging, and he has to take and capture back by Gary. And now the move b4. Wesley insisting on playing incredibly sharp chess on every move, and Gary shaking his head because Wesley will not let him develop any pieces without aggression on the board.
That's
and
right.
Now he just can't develop his knight because c5 is hanging, but if he takes on b4, then a rook will go to c1, and that is his plan. Wesley, on every move, it looks like Wesley's intent on opening up the game, playing gambit chess, and forcing Kasparov to think, and Kasparov boldly just taking the pawn anyway.
That's right. Well,
the capture did in fact occur, and now rook to c1. That he did not play knight e7 just yet. That move has not been played just yet.
So what kind of
what is Wesley's plan?
Well,
Simple. Keep that king in the center. That was why I wanted to go knight h6 and f7. Wesley is not letting Gary breathe. Every single move, he's throwing down a new challenge, a new sacrifice. Wesley's idea is to play queen b3.
And he's done that.
And knight e7, queen b3 is on the board, so you don't want to castle right now because of a horrific discovery by that knight.
Exactly.
The queen on the long diagonal, preventing the king from castling. How will he get out of the center?
That is
and the Indians, by the way, are giving a huge edge to white right now, saying that white is crushing black by a full piece, according to the Indians, because the black king is stuck in the middle of the board. h6, that's not making any progress in this position.
Well, how do we build up the position as white? We could just play rook to d1,
rook to d1. I like that.
Just play rook d1, and at some point you got to be careful about us removing the knight from c4 and sticking a bishop on b5.
That is absolutely right. This position is huge for white. Full compensation for 2 pawns down. 2 pawns down.
And rook d1 was played.
But the question is, I'm trying to get into Gary's head. What was he thinking about with this move h6? He can't be thinking about playing f5, opening up the position to the better army. No. So what was?
Well, he's played b5 here.
b5 now on the board. The Indians give that as totally lost.
Knight takes b5 and bishop b5.
Bishop b5. What is this about?
Wow.
More sacrifices. The Indians gave knight a5 as completely crushing, but this is bad as well. This is also bad. That c6 bishop.
We're threatening bishop c6 and queen e6 check.
What about just queen e6 right now as
exactly.
well? Everything is bad for him. He just played rook to b8, forcing the trade. It looks like queen e6 won't work right now, but there's got to be a death blow.
Well, you can take on c6 and then play queen e6
also.
But he's just played bishop a4, renewing the threat.
Wesley's playing incredible chess. That was the Indians' first
unbelievable chess by Wesley.
Choice. So far, gorgeous attacking game.
And he did it in
Blitz.
seconds.
It's just astonishing the way he's completely dismantling Kasparov in this game. He is playing just sacrificial chess. He's playing in the style of Tao. You're looking at this right now. Beautiful.
Fantastic game so far.
This is
and Gary
awesome.
I think Gary missed b4 because you can see as soon as the move b4 happened, he was already like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that.
It's queen b7. He played queen to b7 is on the board.
Queen b7.
Oh my goodness.
Rook b7.
Rook c6 is crushing.
And queen e6 check, yeah.
Rook c6 is just, if he finds that, this is the other game, which is not nearly as exciting as this one.
He's going to find rook c6.
Will he find it? Rook c6. And bam! There it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wesley So playing one of the greatest greatest
man.
Blitz games I've ever
And now
witnessed.
he's played Bishop C5, and he's just threatening Bishop takes C6.
This is
I
like
mean, Bishop takes 6.
Morphe
This is
versus the
unbelievable.
Duke.
This is unbelievable chess.
This is one
and
of the
Gary
greatest.
knows it now. He's completely busted. What an amazing display by Wesley.
Wow.
And now taking on E7 and resigns. What have we seen here? I mean, kudos to Wesley. So he just ripped Gary apart in that game. You can look at this game from just studying move by move, and Wesley instantly playing genius chess. Incredible.
Wow, those of you who bet on Wesley in this match, who believed in the underdog, give yourselves a big pat on the back, because that game was the game of the ultimate Blitz so far.
Oh, absolutely. I'm in
That
shock.
game is one of the most amazing Blitz games I've ever seen in my life.
Hands down. He
And-
did it
and look
in
at other
3 minutes.
game.
Like 3 minutes. Oh, by
Let's
the way,
look
there's
at,
another game?
yeah,
Can we
Look,
take
guys,
this? All right, let's
I'm
get-
still in shock from
That's
what I
incredible.
just saw.
All right, let's take a look at this now, though, at least, to try to do our jobs after seeing that. It's just unbelievable. But let's get to the other game where, this is slightly better for black, according to the engines. This position is slightly better for black.
Right, no, G5, that's equal. Why are the players? This is such a dead draw.
They're still going. They're still making moves. It doesn't make any sense waiting for some kind of blunder, but there it is.
Yeah, finally.
And that means Wesley's so in the clear lead.
And now rook to D5, trying to trade. Gary said, backing the rook up, rook D5, rook back to F3, and now king to G7. And how does white do it? A rook now on E6.
E6, yeah. We've been trying to play that move for a while.
Exactly, Jen.
And now
this is getting heated.
But now the knight can come back
seconds to
into
30
D6.
seconds.
Isn't that going to be crushing when we get our knight back?
Knight's going to be...
Or E3.
And
yeah,
jump to
D6
F5.
to F5 or E3 to F5.
Sorry,
He's
yeah.
playing H3. Knight E3, rook D2 check. He didn't want to see right away, but
No,
that
you
looked
just
like a
go
nice
king
idea.
King G3 first.
Can Gary do it with only 20 seconds on the clock? Knock over 20.
We try to save ourselves with
One,
knight
and now
E5
knight
at
back
any point?
attacking the rook. Rook has to leave. He can't hesitate.
doing?
He's got to play quick moves. Both sides have to start playing quick moves. The knight back to C6. And now they're repeating.
Repeating once, trying to gain a little time, but now
Now
he's playing
check.
rook E7 check.
He's playing for the win. Gary,
That's right,
Gary
well-
declined the repetition.
He looked at the
Rook
clock
E7.
there.
And
Rook
but
E7, rook F7.
King G3. Get that king up. He's done it. Very, very nice.
And that knight on C4, we hope Gary doesn't blunder that knight. You got to be careful. You know what happened yesterday.
Don't jinx him.
Rook over.
And by the way, knight E3 to F5 is looming large.
But
in the
knight-
That's
position.
why I'm wondering about knight E5
And he
at some
stopped.
point.
Oh,
And now
very
a forced
nice.
trade. A forced trade after rook to
But
D8.
look
and
at
now
rook.
the knight in the position, and look at the clocks.
Now knight D6, same idea. We're threatening knight F5.
I thought he was
Naka
going to
with
play rook
only-
F5. Why
Knock
didn't he
with
go?
only 10. Make that. His time is ticking down. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. He needs to move. King back to F8. And Gary staying ahead on the clock.
Knight
Now knight
F5.
F5, knight C6.
Monster
His rook
square.
down into the position. Now a capture of pawns. And now Naka is going fast.
But
H4,
H4,
pass pawn.
pass
Knight
pawn.
C4. But
Go.
white. Will
Yes.
black have a chance as well? He's brought his knight back.
No way. That pawn is on H6.
Whoa,
Maurice.
this
H6.
looks awful.
There's checkmating patterns.
But he can't find the mate because of that knight. And knight back to G6.
Oh my
And
goodness.
Naka with only 5 seconds, but he's just playing so quickly. Gary repeating moves and now taking a pawn. Rook to D2. Again repeating moves.
But he's not getting any extra
Oh,
time.
What just happened? What just happened? Oh, it looks like
Gary
he just
forgot
did.
to hit the clock.
Well,
and
they're
they-
going so fast.
Exactly.
Gary
And
with 15
C4.
seconds
Another
now.
pawn, but
What
so
is
is
going
Nakamura.
on?
Getting behind the pawn, looking nervous.
Oh,
Now
and
both sides with this pawn. How does Gary make any
And now
progress
he's
here? He's repeating
Checking
moves. He doesn't
again,
see how
trying
he's
to
played
figure it
C6.
out.
What was wrong with? Why did he allow this pawn to go
Wow.
another step? A2. Oh, he's
Wow.
queening, so he's not nothing worried about.
Oh, it looks like a
Nakamura
draw.
totally under control, knowing he
Draw
had it.
agreed.
Amazing.
Oh, I think Gary had some great chances, and I'll just tell you what I think was as soon as the game gets registered on my screen. First of all, let's go to the Wesley So game, and I'll show you what I think was a critical moment. Hikaru getting lucky in this second round of the challenge.
But a big result the other game. Wesley So won the game. He won the game
Goodness.
incredibly.
Wow.
Wesley won
So.
yet again, putting some distance between himself and the rest of the field as Caruana is tumbling down now having lost what seems like 4 losses in 5 games. He lost 3 in a row yesterday to close out the event. Then he drew this first game, and he's lost again. So his chances are looking completely dismal right now, but it's Wesley So rising like a phoenix. I mean, he had 2 games that he lost in the beginning of the tournament, but look what this comeback he's made, and now it's 7.
Looks like a big-time move coming up here.
By the way, I think a nice idea, along with the queen a5, is to just stop bishop takes e5. I can recapture with the queen in this case, and I think this move queen a5 is really annoying to Fabiano because he has to look out for the bishop d7 and queen takes a2. I think king b1 is box.
Wait,
Actually,
what about
no,
bishop e5 and queen d4
Bishop
or something?
h3. Bishop h3 stopping the bishop d7 idea is what the engines are giving, but that's a tricky move to find. If he finds it, it'll be fantastic. Wow, look at that. He found the move. Beautiful play by the U.S. champion. He realized what the main danger was, and now he stopped Kasparov's attack. What a great move to find in a situation like this when you can't move the knight, by the way, to c4 because of rook d5 always on the board. So great play by Caruana.
Yeah, I just did a couple of moves there that Gary, I think, really frittered away his advantage by not playing that move, bishop d7. And no question about it, Fabi's back in this game.
And now h5.
h5 trying to get his own game going. He's angling to play g6. Knight
And
c4.
c4.
Yes, h5 was a mistake. h5, he should have taken the bishop on c4. Now suddenly knight c4 banged down on the board because the bishop is guarding the d5 pawn, by the way. He couldn't just ignore what was happening on the other side. Black still had initiative. h5 was a slip. And this is trouble for Fabiano now. He has to play accurately or he will get in trouble. He's played the move rook to e2.
And can Gary do a crazy idea of like knight a, on a very good day, if he could go knight a3 to b5
And he's
to
just
c3.
taking on g5. Just snapped off the pawn.
He just snapped it. It's a free pawn. It's a pawn. Why not? Thank you very much.
And again, I just wanted to illustrate that. Wouldn't that be a nice dance with the pony to get the knight to the c3 square, and then it's just checkmate to white's king. So there's that lurking strategic threat of dancing around with the, prancing with the knight, and Fabi pawn down under pressure.
That's right. He's going to need to find some way to get counterplay here, but it's so tough because his rook on e2 now is so awkwardly placed too.
Sorry, guys.
And he's just taken on
big
c4.
alert. A big alert.
did
Queen
he do?
e5. Queen e5 is a huge threat. I hadn't realized just how strong that threat was. And he took the knight on c4, wrecking his queenside pawn structure. I cannot
Queen e5 is still possible.
And bishop. Well, Gary instead played bishop takes c4, and now bishop takes g5. Queen takes g5.
check.
That's right.
Oh, this is
And
hope.
rook
This is
e3,
over.
Rook e3, or
Fabi.
all your pieces
No,
are
it
in.
is- it
We
is-
can just snap off a pawn on
Guys,
a2.
you gotta
Wait a minute,
count.
hold on.
He's up a piece right now. Is
He's up a
Caruana.
piece.
It
How
is
did
not
that
over.
happen?
It
How
is
did
not
that
over.
happen?
He did not. Gary did not take
Bishop
back
to-
any pieces in this position after he took on c4.
He didn't take on a4.
He did not take on a4
So why
at any
not take-
point. So he is currently down a piece, although he has compensation according to the engine,
Yeah, what's
which
wrong
is
with
very
that?
hard to see right now. He is still down a piece in this position. Right now, the engines give b3 as the best move. Let's fast forward to
Let's
the
see what he
current
played,
position.
yes.
And he has to play b3.
He played
well,
bishop to d3.
d3.
And-
Whoa.
And
He's
c8.
forgot his rook is
His
hanging.
rook is
C8
hanging
is
on
hanging,
c8.
yeah.
Yeah.
His rook is hanging.
He's
The
made
engines give this.
Gary Kasparov.
And
Did
yeah,
Caruana
take
miss
it.
He didn't take it?
He didn't take it.
no, he probably thought that after
And rook
Twins.
takes c2. It's over.
rook takes c2. Is
Oh
just
my
the end of the game.
goodness.
It's over now. He's busted his Caruana.
Absolutely.
If Gary finds all the moves, though, he has only 23 seconds. Fabi with only 14 seconds. This is a disastrous turn for, and there it is.
B3.
Kasparov did find the right move there, and now he just has to giddy up and find mating ideas. There he goes. They're blitzing now.
Oh my goodness.
The evaluation just changing quickly as they're both in serious time pressure, but still, Gary's collecting food on every move. He's now up a full exchange. It looks like.
Yeah.
No, he actually has
Yeah.
two pieces for the rook, but an open king
is
to hunt.
completely exposed.
Wow. This
and now
and,
H5.
and about 1 million pawns.
Yeah.
and an exchange of
H5.
queens,
Oh,
but
that's a
not gonna be
killer
good.
move.
Too many pawns.
H4.
Too many pawns. There it goes. As Gary wins the game. That was not the most accurate game of chess you'll ever see. But Kasparov with the win, keeping his winning chances in the tournament alive, while Fabi is just way out of it, having lost 5 out of 6.
And let's see how our tournament leader, Wesley So, is faring against one of the greatest blitz players in the world, Hikaru Nakamura. A pawn up.
Yeah, Wesley mismanaged this position, but he still has some drawing chances here.
4 rook endings are so difficult to play. And with so little time,
Yes, he's got half as much time as Nakamura. Yeah, this is not going to be an easy defense for him.
Somehow trying to trade off rooks is Nakamura and establish a winning ending. If Nakamura wins this game, he will be tied for first again with Wesley. So there goes that C-pawn. And Wesley not coming up with a convincing way to corral that pawn.
not at all.
No, that's right.
And now he's
time is ticking
just-
down.
I
think
He's
it's
got
over.
5
It's
seconds.
over.
It is over. He
I
looks
think that,
lost.
Absolutely. He's missed after King C5. He had anticipated Rook C1 check, but there's Rook C4. So this just didn't work for Wesley at all. And
And
this
now
is
we're going to see.
resigns
Now we're
after
going to see a
King.
little bridge built.
Yeah, well, he's just
Absolutely.
Rook D8 is about to come.
That's
and
it.
There it is.
That's it.
A beautiful game. And guess what, guys?
They're tied for first.
They're tied.
They're tied for first.
How did we start?
It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty the way Wesley handled himself. It should have been equal. Wesley had a great position to solidify the game, but you know how Naka is. He starts putting pressure on you. And so a victory against Wesley So first, and they're the clear leaders right now at 7 points each. But Gary Kasparov with that win.
Wesley So is going to have to beat the tail ender and U.S. champion and number 2 in the world, Fabiano Caruana, and Queen E6.
No, because Wesley is probably not going to win. So by drawing.
Well, I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah.
to win himself and to keep pace. Queen E6, Queen
Queen
E7, with this threat to the E6 pawn. Black under pressure. Rook F6.
Under big pressure, don't you just have
Bishop-
Bishop G5 here?
Bishop
The
G5.
Indians did not like that move at all.
Wow.
Believe it or not, King F7 was the move
Bishop
being
E-
given. And he's played Bishop to E5, and White is better for sure. You have to put the Rook on H6 to defend the pawn, but that Rook is just relegated to being a protector, a defender only, with no attacking chances whatsoever. So Nakamura is not going to be happy with that choice. I'm sorry, Fabiano is not going to be happy with that choice. So Fabi in a bit of trouble right now.
A bit of trouble. A big
Oh,
trouble
and so instead he just
looming.
played this move,
Rook
Rook
D8,
D8.
trying to get rid of that queen, which is harassing.
And the
But
queen.
now I'm a little
Whoa.
worried that after Queen A4, when you move your Rook, we have like Bishop D4 and you're overextended. No, I guess you still have Queen C7.
I have Queen A3 also in the position, Jen. Queen takes A3.
Yeah, that's true.
I was actually
True.
looking at the sacrifice in that position of Queen takes A3.
No, but look
trying
at
to
this.
give up the
Bishop
exchange.
G4 is powerful because the Rook on D8 and the Knight on A5 are going to be hanging. And Gary did draw his game as we expected. Now the move Knight to C4. That Queen G4 move was not accurate by White. Queen G4 was not accurate. Knight C4 has brought him back into the game, and he's looking to try to get some kind of edge here. He dropped his bishop back to D4.
But now
That's a
A3
nice
is
tempo.
A3 could be taken, but instead.
And what did he do?
Whoa.
What
He
did he
played Queen
allow? He
D6.
just
Whoa.
allowed this sequence with Queen to H5, and it's suddenly Black is in trouble.
Because if you play G6, we have Bishop takes G6, and then after Pawn G6, there's actually just Queen H8 mate rather than Queen G6 king out.
We don't want to know any of that.
Mate.
But this position
So
is
Whoa.
terrible. And Queen G6 is a blow,
Queen
and he's
G6.
played a Queen G6. Big trouble right now. Big
Bishop
trouble.
F6 came
Bishop F6
instantly.
on the board. and
Instantly.
Now he just has to trade this off and penetrate with his queen, but he's trying to work out a win. Fabiano, with only 15 seconds left, Naka has to find just a few quick moves.
I think Rook takes B3, opening up the B file so you can go check, 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 and put your Rook on B7 with check.
Well, why not take on F6 first, just so that the king is forced to go to
yes, without
forced to
question.
go to F7.
And he's finally taken on B3. Bishop takes on E5. And it doesn't look like it's mate anywhere. So well, he's got to be careful. But is this move Knight D2 a move
Then it's all checks, and there's a rook
Then there's
b7
queen
check.
h7 and
he's
queen
played
h8.
it,
Well, there's queen h7 check, king f8, queen h8 check, king e7,
And he's dropped
rook
the exchange.
b7.
What?
He has dropped the exchange on f1.
What?
And he's played bishop g6, but it doesn't work. This, right now, the game is crazy. Black, according to the engines, completely winning.
Queen h2 check.
But he played queen h2 instead of bringing his knight back out. That was enough, but now the engines are giving
Winning.
white
And look
as
at
completely
three.
winning. Look what he did. He blundered again. Did Caruana and hung his queen to
my
this tactic. He
goodness.
was completely winning at the end, but he just could not do it with the time pressure. Caruana has now lost 6 out of 7 games.
Wow.
6 out of 7 games. Incredible. Back
I think
here.
there was an issue here that the king actually was escaping after rook b7.
Let's go to
this
Maurice
position,
to show the critical highlights.
this was winning here. King f8 right now. This is fine for him. He played bishop to g6. This was a blunder, and now the engine just say, just take your knight back out. You just bring your knight out. It's easy. There's nothing for white to do here because you just don't win anything. It's just knight back out, and the rook's not doing anything. It's just a complete win for him. Instead, he took on h2 with check. Now the king took on f1, and now the engines give rook to b8 as the best move, which is a bit of a surprise. Rook b8, there might be some tactics down here, but instead he played queen f4, which was just a blunder after the trade, and rook to f3, and he lost the game. Caruana not playing quickly enough and just making mistakes. He's not showing any fine form in Blitz right now. He's lost 6.
The real annoying would be
Yeah.
to get that pawn to g3 and then play bishop to d4 check. Then you got checkmates down the h file, but he's played bishop
Exactly.
b3. The move I liked, remove that pawn from the and
King h2,
Nakamura.
nipping the ideas in the bud there.
No
I love
question
it. Nakamura
about it.
sees attacks long before
You
they're on
even
the
knew.
board. Before you
Yeah.
even conceive them. He's alert to the dangers. He's an incredible defender in Blitz. That's why it's so hard to take him down. Remember that game Fabi had when he was down a rook for a queen,
Yeah.
and he managed to somehow save that one miraculously. And he's just a tenacious defender, and Gary has to find moves with his seconds ticking down. He's down to 27 seconds.
And b5.
And B5, look at Nakamura's clock advantage. If he can find just 2 or 3 moves right now, he could really cause trouble for Gary. Gary cannot hesitate. It's time to make some quick moves, as that delay is not helping him as he stops to think. 5 seconds pass, 6 seconds pass before he finally made a bishop on a2.
Wow, just burying the bishop to get rid of, to get out of any discoveries by Hikaru. But check
Maybe
this
he's going
out.
to try to play the move a5 since you can't take on b5 because of bishop c4, and then we're also threatening to move b4, trapping the bishop.
And
Absolutely.
the pawn now dropped, and there's the threat now. b4 is the threat after rook to b8, and bishop back out to c5. With Gary down to only 19 seconds, he played b4. White has to make progress somehow, but look at him consolidate his position first. Rook to d2, a5, looking for a pass pawn.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
Great defense by
counterplay
Gary as well.
As
dynamic.
well, yeah.
But will he be able to do it in time? He has a real issue here.
Ooh.
And b3, whoa,
Burying his bishop
is buried forever on a2.
I don't like that
And now
move.
a sacrifice. Look at Kasparov.
What did he do?
He sacrificed on f4. Rook takes on
Whoa.
f4 with check.
King h6.
King h6, bishop h6.
Bishop
So we're
h6
winning
being
back.
the idea. He's changed the whole tenor of the game. And now
Tactic.
Kasparov is back in the hunt.
Tactic.
Now looking to trade off the dark square bishop. He understands he can't. Whoa. The only trouble he has is his bishop is out the game, and that knight and rook are trying to combine to mate him, but he's figured
bishop
out.
B1.
Bishop B1 was
and you're
played.
Right,
And there it is.
you're
The
right
bishop is back.
And
Gary is back in safety mode, and his king is stalemated for the moment. But
Hikaru trying to
but
weave
Hikaru
checkmating
can
him.
somehow checkmate him.
Trying to weave checkmating net with the knight on f6 and the rook on the 7th rank.
And Gary's aware that there's no mate, and look at him. He's bouncing, bobbing in the
Bobbing
chair.
and weaving.
He's like, give me that pawn. Now he has a pass pawn himself, so that's dangerous. How does he untangle those pieces? He now is looking to get his king out. His
That's
king
right.
is out.
His king is out, ready to go to e6.
Very good.
And the
And
other game was a draw.
The other game ended in a draw. Incredibly, with only 15 seconds, Gary realizes he can save this position. Once his king is out, his bishop can always sacrifice for the g-pawn. So
Exactly.
now he's perfectly fine. he might start even looking to do something.
He just attacked the knight, but we can always can we simplify here if we really want to?
Yes, of
and
course.
just take on b3, rook takes d5, takes.
Anytime he wants, the two players can draw. And Nakamura shaking his head. He got outplayed. He looked over to see what happened in the other game, and he realized something went amiss as Gary defended like the Rock of Gibraltar. Amazing chess by Kasparov to save the game, and that game ended in a draw as well.
Wait a minute. What do you mean amazing chess by Kasparov? Amazing chess by Nakamura as well.
Well, he had such a big edge.
Well, come on. When somebody spanks down knight g3, sacrificing and going after the king, what he did.
Instantly finding knight e4, knight takes c3. By the way, that's very instructive, guys. Knight to e4 so that you can play knight g3 and then force the trade of queens with queen e1. And we saw that same kind of idea in Wesley's game where he played queen f8, stopping the attack.
Yeah, again, this looks like a fearsome attack that Nakamura's king was under, and the way he just neutralized that whole attack was poetry. This was incredibly well played.
I think he was shaking his head because he had the minute and 40 seconds against about 15 seconds on the clock. He saw that situation. It was a big edge for him, and all he had to somehow do was keep the game under control. But Kasparov hit him with that move. Rook takes f4, and then bishop h6, bishop d2, something Naka is used to doing to people. But Gary showed that he can defend as well, and he had his bull face on, like, no, I'm not going down, and he's still within the possibility. Gary has
2 minutes less.
42 seconds left. By the way, the only clock, just so that there's no confusion, the only clock that really counts is the clock next to the player. So pay attention to that clock only. Sometimes you might see a little bit of refreshing going on the digital, on the 2D board. That's not accurate. The only accurate clock is that one you see there, and that one is keeping time perfectly for the game. Gary now down to 41 seconds, 2:10, and you see there that it's not exactly right. It's constantly refreshing here on the 2D board. In the meantime, Black is happy.
Oh, he just shifted his queen to g6, putting additional pressure on the g2 pawn, what Jennifer was mentioning, and there was no way g2, g3 was going to be played, so Gary had to bring his rook up to f2. And this is the move, d6, that I thought was a key issue for White. Now, rook d8 is almost an automatic.
That's right, and that's happened, and now Gary's playing d7. Not as much to try to save the pawn, but it's to leave the rook at bay.
Exactly.
By the way, the other game, Nakamura prosecuting his advantage quite well. If you want to jump to that position just quickly, Nakamura managed to trade off queens, and now he has a real advantage in this position. And Wesley trying to defend that a-pawn is galloping down the board. But wait a minute.
Bishop d4 on the board would win the game.
Bishop d4 looks,
nice
look
one,
at
yeah.
that. That's beautiful. And there it is. A winning move. Gorgeous play. Forcing resignation as the a-pawn will queen. Nakamura taking control of the tournament with that win. Beautiful finish.
Study-like finish there.
A2 would have allowed Wesley the tempo he needs to be able to play and cover the a1 square. So that was why this final move, bishop d4, is so sweet. After king takes a2, your bishop can't get back to cover the
That's
a1
why the bishop
square.
went to d4.
So you deflect bring the king to
That's
d4.
A big lead now, 1.5 with only 3 games left. Nakamura, just amazing tactics. We saw the night before. We saw the bishop to d4. And meantime, look at Gary.
Kasparov in trouble.
Shaking his head with only 13 seconds left.
Very unhappy with the turn of events happening here. And with the white pieces.
Yes. And a tail ender as well. Fabi wants to win a couple of games, show that he's a player as well. But come on, only 13 seconds.
Doubling up on
now only 11 seconds left for Gary.
That's right, we've got rook e7, knight f1.
But look
totally
at knight
passive.
d6. Oh, this is a beautiful, beautiful strategic mastery by Fabiano in this game as
that's right,
he's taking it to Gary.
We were just running knight e4, winning an exchange. So bishop d3 was forced, and then we played bishop to e4.
Oh, this is a beautiful dominating game.
More exchanges, and now the knight on e4. Gary desperate, looking for moves.
It's over, guys.
But the problem is you can't move the rook away because we've got knight f3 check.
Exactly.
So
Gary, there's a sacrifice.
Desperate with knight d5 here.
It was a sacrifice, knight g3 on the board, but Caruana missed it, and now Gary hesitating there. He's got 3 seconds on his clock. 3 seconds to play the entire defense. He is in huge trouble right now.
Not going to happen.
Will
not going to happen.
Caruana figure out exactly what to do? He just needs to make a couple of moves. He doesn't even need to do anything. Right around now, just make some moves, and he's played this trade on F2. What did he take on F2?
And then takes an E8, but luckily we can play Queen E8.
It's
an exchange up, winning position
Yeah.
on the board, winning
And
on the clock.
And the clock.
Kasparov has to move. He has to move, and his time is down to 2 seconds only. 2 seconds. I mean, it would take a miracle to save this position. And Gary has resigned.
No miracles. No miracles.
That's right. Gary has gone down in that game. Nice display by Fabi.
Fabulous. Beautiful play. You don't see that happening to Gary Kasparov very often. Wow.
And let's see, how does this all change the standings? Nakamura cementing his lead.
Owning the day is Nakamura right now. Nakamura just playing. You saw him when he came in. He sat down first. Everybody else was walking around. He said, it's time to get down to business. Yesterday, you saw him all smiles, lollygagging. Yeah, you know, it's not that serious. Yeah, right. Today, the game face is on, and one of the greatest Blitz players on the planet is showing it right now, demonstrating his tactical awareness, just lightning quick when it comes to your blunders. He will find it in a second. And his defensive skills especially, and look at this score. He's running up the score, guys.
At some point, you know, we might be able to make use of that A6 square to get some extra pressure on D6.
The problem in this position for White is this knight on D2 with the pawn on B5. The knight doesn't seem to have a natural square. It's going to have to go back to B1 and find the C3 square. But at the moment, his center is just suddenly under attack with this move F5 by Kasparov. And so this knight sitting on D2 is a passive square, so he's going to be busy doing other things. He's just played the move rook to A6.
Tying knights down. Knights down. And it'd be really sweet if we could play knight G5 and hop into E6. Unfortunately, that square, it's not accessible, so we can't really do anything with either of our knights here. So White's position looking powerful except for the knight position.
Agreed. And this rook on A6 is really bothersome. You'd really love to play the move rook B6 here, but you don't want to walk into bishop B4 to A5, which would pin the rook and win an exchange. So pressure for Wesley, and a beautiful move by Gary. Posting his bishop on H6. It's all about activating your pieces, and we can see that this rook on A6, the bishop on B4, very, very active. Bishop on G7 wasn't doing much, now has a better diagonal.
And now we see an exchange on F5, and Gary has taken with the bishop on that square.
Oh, with the bishop.
Unexpected.
I don't like that at all.
Because of the E4 square, right?
Absolutely. Maurice has been talking about what is that knight on D2 going to do? Well, if you recapture with the bishop, and there he goes.
Lashed out with G4, and now he's going to be ready to play the knight into E4 next.
A beautiful move by Wesley. I really like how, Wesley is playing great game.
And you see a little shaken as Gary brings his bishop back to D7, perhaps not regretting not capturing with the pawn.
He had to.
Because now there's three pieces.
He had to capture with the pawn because there was a tactic in the position with the rook on A6 attacking the bishop all the way across the board on H6.
Oh.
There was a sacrifice
on
in
E5,
that moment.
right? There's knight takes
E5. There was knight takes E5, so he actually tactically slept on that one with his bishop on the H6 square, and that is why he took back with the bishop instead of with the pawn and is now strategically worse.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and all of White's pieces looking very, very good.
That's right, forced to defend with the queen, which also creates another pin and potential tactics in the position, although right now everything is held on to here.
Right.
I would love to be able to play the move knight d4, jumping into the position, but for the moment, the discoveries don't seem like they lead to anything.
And in the other game, Hikaru is owning the board against Fabiano Caruana.
Let's flip to that board.
That pawn is on D6, but it looks completely insecure as he just played B4, chasing the bishop backwards, and White hanging on for dear life, trying to keep that pawn on D6. But he could capture it right now if he wants to. He could just take on E4 and then rip off the pawn on D6. That trade, bishop takes knight, whatever you take with most likely the bishop, of course, and then queen takes pawn on D6. He would be up a pawn, although White would have a great light squared bishop and the 2 bishops as well, but that's still a pawn, and Hikaru is trying to judge whether or not it's a smart idea. He is in a little bit of time pressure, well, at least a deficit against Fabiano right now, and he decided after all that thought, hey, it's a pawn. He has decided to take the pawn, and he's now ahead by 1 pawn, but he's going to have to face these 2 bishops, which, by the way, the bishop on c1 is not really saying much.
Exactly.
But
I don't think it's a fearsome pair of bishops there, Maurice.
No, it does. It certainly does not look completely clear, but queen h5 does ask a big question, though. Right now, queen to h5, I guess g6, no, g6 would stop anything from happening because the knight can always drop back to the g7 point. So that knight is ready to defend. Well, it's on the board.
And g6 instantly.
And g6, and he backed up with queen f3.
Yeah, the sacrifice would lead nowhere, and therefore that was why queen f3 was played, putting pressure on this knight on c6.
And while they're maneuvering, Wesley So has broken through against Kasparov. That g6 pawn is now off the board. Gary was not able to curtail the position in any way, and now he is in trouble, down a full pawn in the position as Wesley's hitting the bishop on d7 and the pawn on g6 as well, and ignoring the bishop. He's played e4.
Yeah, e4. What happens if e4?
Well, he just played rook takes d7, and now an opposite color bishop position where he is hoping that he has a drawing hand. But wait a minute.
Bishop d2.
What is up with bishop?
There's bishop d2, but we have rook e7 here. So if
he also has rook e2, just attacking the bishop, and there it is.
E2, yeah.
And now he's gotten a pawn back, but he's down 1 on the board, and he's got a d pawn he's got to deal with. d6 to f3.
Gary barely holding on and playing for his life here.
So now what do you do after rook c7?
He's going to have to drop. He's going to have to go into full passive mode, I'm afraid. And he's played your move, rook c7, Jen.
Should just chase with his b pawn, and instead he's going after the d pawn.
So he just played rook to d8, and we see rook e6.
Yeah, the Indians did not like Gary's defense at all. Now he's just down material, but his b pawn is a counterplay.
Running. And does Wesley? What is Wesley's idea now? So he snapped up a pawn. He always has this draw in hand.
Perpetual check in hand. Yes.
But he has a big edge on the clock. He's not going to try to perpet this position. No way.
Well, he has to find some way to stop the b pawn.
But I don't.
But he can stop the b pawn. Can't he put a rook on b7 at some point and make it happen?
No, he can play rook c1, b2, rook b1. But in that case, he should have his rook. He should play rook back to h6.
You're asking him to go passive?
He can't go. He doesn't have time for rook g7, b2, rook b7 because we can just queen in that position.
Right.
And
but
then,
I'm saying rook h6, king g8.
But why can't he? Why can't he put his? I don't understand why he can't put his rook. Why can't he put his rook to 8? It's a tricky line. Rook h7 doesn't. That doesn't make sense.
Exciting game.
Yeah, there's all those kinds of drawing formations with the double rook attacks, right?
Right.
Now in time pressure.
Oh, there was a way to do it. There was a way. You move your rook over to d7 in that position. The rook on the h file. He has to take the draw now, and Gary has repeated. Well, bent Caruana with only
8 seconds to 13 seconds.
8 seconds. Moves coming quickly.
By the way, the game is beginning to open up for the bishops, but after this move f5, Hikaru is going to be able to pick up the h6 pawn as well as the f5 pawn. Oh, this counterplay on the queen side. There goes one.
But there's a big pawn on the a file.
g4. Oh my goodness, this is going to be close.
And those queen pawns are very good against knights, right? Those outside pass pawns.
But look at that, picking up a tempo to reposition his knight. And White in big trouble.
White made a mistake.
Why bishop e4?
Bishop e4 was a big mistake, and Nakamura
losing a key tempo there.
Back on the defensive, and there it goes. He's going to win the bishop. Well, now he's just playing for a draw if he can get over there, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. The knight's going to end up on f8. He's going to play knight g6, knight f8, take the a pawn. That's going to be game. He resigns in the position. Wow, Nakamura.
That's an important consolation that Maurice mentions because, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that the
no question.
Magnus
versus Naka. I think that would be fun. Magnus versus Naka would certainly be a great match. I think people would pay to see that one. As
I would pay to see that.
Oh,
one.
man.
It's just fantastic.
you were told that you could not watch that?
No, I cried.
How much do you want me to pay?
That would be a huge punishment, actually. That should be our next bet. And let's take a look at who's in the audience. We've got our women's champion, Nazi Pakidze.
And number 2.
Somehow she's made friends with Hatev Abrahamian. Of course,
they were friends.
Of course, I'm joking. They were friends before, but not an easy situation with both of them playing for the title and Nazi leapfrogging against her at the last moment. But obviously, in chess, you gotta. That's the game. You gotta make friends with your rivals and play against them at some point.
Absolutely. Interesting move, Queen D2 by Garry Kasparov here. He had both pawns hanging in the center. I thought that he was going to play Queen C5, actually, posting up on the C5 square, but Queen D2 inviting a capture of his E4 pawn, and I'm sure Hikaru Nakamura is looking at that E4 pawn, very, very tempting. There's only one play in the position, D5, attacking this knight. The rook would come over to D8, pinning the knight to the queen. And does Garry have compensation? And of course, knight C3 castles. And I'm not 100% sure that this full compensation there.
Actually, the inch is giving white the edge.
Seriously?
Yeah, white
Okay.
the edge. In that position.
I couldn't be more wrong.
Well, we can often bail out with the C7 pawn, right?
And he has taken queen takes, and Garry leans back in shock seeing that move. Queen takes on E4. I mean, that just simply allows the win of a piece for a couple of pawns, and he has decided to go for this position. Nakamura not wanting to have a position where he stood worse strategically has sacrificed his piece. But he currently has 3 pawns for it.
Big decision, and I like White's position.
Yeah.
The two Bs especially should give White a clear edge.
Well, he can also get a pawn back on C7.
And that's a huge pawn because that stops you from rolling with your center pawn.
Exactly. Queen takes D4, knight takes D4, bishop takes C7. That'd be an automatic for me. I'm a pawn grabber. And there's Garry grabbing the pawn as well.
Can anyone say insufficient compensation?
Me.
Now, if Naka goes down this game, Wesley So is dominating currently in his position against Fabiano Caruana. So that would close the gap quickly. Naka now in trouble, our leader in trouble in this position. Can he save this game? He's got 3 pawns, it looks like. 2 pawns, excuse me. 2 pawns for the piece.
And
after knight b5, are we going to get one back?
He's going to have 1 pawn, actually, knight b5, and it will be over.
Yeah, this is just kaput. I mean, come on.
Bishop f2 is also being given as a strong move, as the strongest move in the position. Surprisingly, knight b5 also wins the pawn, but allows king to c6 with some tricks, apparently.
I
but
see.
He did not play either move.
He played neither of them.
He played rook to d3, and now king c6, the knight on e2. He knows that pawn on d4 looks delish. He wants lunch right now as everybody's ganging up. And black defends, and here's the extra piece. The value of the extra piece, and everybody's defending the d4 pawn. It's the only thing holding black's position together, as black is defending with everything, and Garry now resetting. Rook check, looking to put the rook on c4.
Right. That's right. He's going to put the rook on c4 instead. I was surprised he didn't put his rook on a4 originally, because that would have also kept the a pawn at bay.
Right.
And now what can Nakamura do to save this position, as his d4 pawn is about to drop, and if it does, he'll simply lose the game. This looks completely lost now.
That's right. I mean, I actually wouldn't be surprised if he resigns at some moment. And he's played, although Nakamura does not like to give up, and he's played the move b6.
Right. But that was
what's funny, though, what's funny is this.
The bullet rule. This is not exactly bullet.
Never resign.
But guys, check this out.
Yes.
If knight takes on d4 and the king moves, how do you unpin yourself? Knight takes d4, king anywhere. Yeah, king a6. How do you unpin yourself as white? You'd have to somehow maybe get your king to c3?
Yeah.
But even that doesn't unpin yourself. How do you unpin? This is what Garry is studying right now. How you win the pawn, but you cannot unpin yourself. And it's caused, this is the only thing that's causing trickery. He can't take the pawn yet. That capture creates too difficult a technical issue to take on d4, and he decided to not capture just yet and just play slowly, leave the pawn there. It's a weakness for now, so don't bother it. And he's just building his position as now his rook goes to c7. He's decided the pawn is a blockade to black. It's a weakness, don't touch it. And now forcing, look at that, forcing the black rook over to f8, got the second pawn in his pocket, and Nakamura scrambling now after rook takes rook f5.
Rook f5, he's down a piece.
Exactly.
He's down a piece for one pawn.
This is hopeless.
This is,
and down on the clock.
Yeah, this is resigned soon,
This is to be
think.
resigned. Yes. A very nice move. I like that
And
move.
Wesley is winning completely against Fabiano.
Yes.
So this result will affect the standings dramatically. A mate threat on the board. Give us another pawn. He's just grabbing pawns left and right. Nakamura
And now
stunned
B6.
right now. It could have been a coronation, but it looks as though he's going to simply lose the game, offering a trade of rooks.
And guys, this sets up an incredible
Amazing finish.
last round for us in this Ultimate Blitz.
Nakamura, you know his defensive skills. Here we go, check. And can he put together the sequence as Nakamura has got two of his pawns
and the time
on lock? He's still he's equalized on time now. Look at Nakamura defend.
Setting up for an incredible finish.
Well, that's only if Gary wins. Gary is not finding the way to win this position. A piece up. He has not figured it out. Now he's brought his rook backwards to guard everything. And how does he figure out the win? Bishop attacking rook, chasing that away. Nakamura not giving him any easy road to win this position. And now he's trading rooks. There goes a trade of rooks happening on the board.
So that he can play f4 and then advance with his king up the board.
It still worked. The black king looks to go to b4. He's played rook to c4. Doesn't that allow rook d3?
Rook d3, rook f4.
And he has played it, rook f4, and now is pass f-pawn is the story of the position, but there's a pass b-pawn for black.
Which will be curtailed after bishop e5. Posting up, what? I thought he was going to play king up and bishop e5. This is not the technique I would have thought Gary would use.
No, but it's winning now. Now it is winning. That f-pawn galloping down the board really quickly, and this is going to be it. Rook check, chasing the king away and winning a rook.
There it goes.
Kasparov. Really, White no longer is playing for some real win necessarily in this kind of position, although White could put the knight somehow to the c5 square. Knight e5, probably drop back to d3 and find the c5 square, and that's him getting his own counterplay as well. Just not easy for black to prove anything right now, and I think Naka knows Wesley's going to have to take a risk of some kind, but it's just not easy to advance in this position.
That's right, because we have some weaknesses as well. So if we try to play something like rook d7 and rook d8, you're always going to have these pesky knight e5 moves.
And, well, in any case, rook b7 was an inactive rook. There was this idea of knight to e5 and taking control of the c6 square. So that was why Wesley felt obliged to trade off a pair of rooks. Now this queen c4. I'm a little surprised by that move, queen c4.
Whoa, did Wesley play knight back to b6?
He did, allowing this move queen c7. And
c7.
And that did happen.
And suddenly the advantage is turned, and I very much like
White is back.
White
is back. These positions are very hard to play, and Wesley just did not find his best chance here. He has to trade.
He thought perhaps that after queen c7, rook c7, maybe he thought that a4 was dropping from the position. After bishop d8.
I don't think he even looked at this move.
After bishop d8, we're taking on a4, and we also are threatening to take on b2, but I think you have a well-timed b3 move.
Absolutely.
And so after knight a4,
No, you just put his rook behind this pawn. And now knight takes.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought you were going to go the other way. Yeah. So just knight a4 now, and
Rook
you're just going to take back on b4. Yeah. But Nakamura is pausing. He is considering whether he should stick in the move b3 and then take the pawn on b.
b5 is not the move that jumps out at you
and continues the flow.
Exactly. And
it's a break.
Hikaru has that tactical, gifted awareness
and he's avoided it with rook takes b4. He couldn't calculate. He offered a draw, and Wesley has taken the draw. incredible. Wesley just decided to bail out right now.
Kimura.
So let's turn our eyes on Garry Kasparov's last game here in St. Louis.
And he's got a big edge. According to the injuries, he's completely outplayed Fabiano Caruana. Luckless Fabi in this tournament for sure. He's getting outplayed all the games, and black is just dominating the board. There's no real progress for white possible here. It looks just difficult for white to do anything.
All of these weaknesses on these light squares, and Garry, once again, in his element as a fierce attacker.
He would love to go out with a win for sure. He will not catch Wesley.
No.
With this win, but a clear third place. And winning the game against Naka just now, then beating Fabi, that would be a little bit of a consolation.
Yeah, that's a nice
tournament.
Nice consolation finish. We've seen flashes of brilliance by Garry, and it just goes to show what a fantastic competitor he had been. And he retired 11 years ago. And in the first day of play, he was pushing these guys around the board. And that was an amazing, amazing performance. And there's Garry going after those light square weaknesses. He's just played Bishop F3, setting up all kinds of checkmating nets, what every Russian schoolboy knows.
Check. Yeah. The funny thing is, Fabiano Caruana was playing the light squares against him in the last game, so black is good.
Yeah. Well, what Fabi did against Garry was a master class. I wouldn't say he's luckless. He too has shown some great ability, but somebody, not everybody, but somebody has to take last place.
Yeah, this has been a tremendously tight tournament, though. There was remember, we came in today with any of the four players really with realistic chances of taking down this challenge.
Absolutely. We just see this move C, D4, D5 by
Fabi.
Knight E5, and he had to take that knight. That knight is just too powerful. This looks like an overwhelming attack to my eyes.
That's right. Now, Knight E1 desperately trying to guard the F3 square, so that in the event of Bishop G2, King G2, you don't have to worry about H3 and Queen F3 just ending the story.
Exactly.
But this is just a direct attack.
Yes.
It just seems straightforward. A queen to H5 would be a nice move. He's taking on G3. I think he has to take with the F pawn, no? Just to save his life.
Yeah,
otherwise,
he
might get mated on the H file.
Taking with the F pawn is probably forced, but then that E3 pawn is going to be tenderized with Bishop H6 and Knight G4.
And he has taken with the F pawn. And
recognizing the reality of how difficult is his position.
That's right, because it's not just the bishop on H6, it's also the knight coming to G4.
And there you go. You see, I mean, how quickly Garry can pounce on a position. It's really remarkable.
Look at this, so King G7 by Garry.
So that if Knight G4, at least you can hang on by a thread with Rook B3. Garry bringing in another piece with Bishop H6, with King G7.
Just setting up
Rook
the
H8.
Potential Rook H8.
What is Garry thinking about? Rook H8 doesn't work right now because, well, is he going to play allow knight takes on D6? Can he do that? Rook H8?
Certainly not. He'll throw an A6 first, Maurice. Just drive the knight back.
He was hovering over his rook, but now he's changing his mind and he's starting with the move Queen H5. Remember that
we thought
he can play Knight G4.
Earlier, yeah. We thought definitely Queen H5 and Knight G4.
But the move A6 was much stronger according to the engines, and this one much weaker. But no, actually, he's still in it. He's still there with opportunities because the A pawn, according to the engines, this is not too deep an analysis. The A pawn is hanging, but nobody's going to take that pawn on A7. Forget that. There's mating ideas you have to worry about on the other side of the board. And now he's played
a good move by Fabi.
H3. Yes, he's making it tough.
Yeah, he's trying to heal his position, no question about it.
And now
another nice move by Garry, Knight H7, trying to post up his knight on to the G5 square so that he can attack this pawn on H3.
And now desperation mode by Fabi is playing G4, and Gary's just snapped that off. Interesting.
Sacrificed a piece.
He sacked a piece. A tremendous sacrifice by Kasparov. and he's going to bring all his pieces near that king. No queen trades allowed. Forget about that. Queen to G3 now.
Automatic.
And look at that. No, and now the pawn on E3 is hanging with check, and the rook is coming in the game. The knight is coming in the game. A beautiful sacrifice by Kasparov, and he is completely winning now. Here comes the knight, G5, and what are you going to do?
Heads up.
The check threats are coming. This is over.
That's right. We got a Fabi is running, but unfortunately it's going to be hard to run when Gary.
Where are you running?
So the H5 where the rook has shown up, and Caruana in deep trouble now. He's taken.
And now the move King D8, threatening Bishop F8 check.
Oh, that is all over now. Bishop back to F8, king over, knight H3 check, and Gary sees the whole combination as he has brought. He's played the check, the king over.
Bishop F8.
And he's taken the knight, traded that last piece off.
Rook and now the rook's coming into F5, and Fabi is forced to give up his knight on F3.
Oh, he got crushed.
Beautiful.
What a game. Gary Kasparov, attacking style, and he is happy with himself, cheering for that finish. An amazing finish. He beat Nakamura and Caruana in the last 2 games.
And after hanging a lot of knights, he's
sure Gary Kasparov with just some electrifying chess. Both days of the tournament, undercut by his blunders, the 3 knights gambit. I'm sure you remember these 3 knights for a while, but you did play some real satisfying games. Tell us what it felt like to play 2 days of chess against 3 of the best chess players in the world.
It was a tough night, actually, because I just couldn't get rid of these horrors, these blunders. Actually, this is the worst memory of yesterday. It was not a blunder, but the way I played against Wesley. So probably it had a psychological impact on me. So that's why I played so poorly against him today. Ironically, I won two micro matches. Just as if somebody would have told me before the beginning that I could beat Hikaru in 6 games match and to lose, I will lose to Wesley. I mean, I don't think anybody would believe in it. I was thinking what was knight on d6, this is the knight that is totally paralyzed black's position, and I could do whatever. So just, it's, I didn't also know what to do today because, I thought, should I try to play just to win or just, there were many, many problems. And that's probably, the most important one is that, I was out of, professional chess for so long. So that's why, actually playing these guys, and just, realizing that, I have to be, it's very so serious, preparing and I, knowing that it's just to win the game. It takes much more than just winning a game because they will fight to the very end. So and I as you could see, this is the first game I played very poorly. So was Wesley. It's quite ironic because he sacrificed a pawn which was a very dubious sacrifice. If I played sort of b6, b5, I just had an extra pawn and okay, he had some compensation, but it would be a different ball game. And then the moment I played b6, and I just, and then I just immediately made a second mistake, with bishop c6. That's what happens. And then it just after b4, you completely lost, so I just, and he finished very nicely.
It's a beautiful game,
It's a beautiful game, but it's just, it reminded me of, games Morphy played with amateurs, so that's why, and I was on the side. Okay, I was an amateur in this game. Yeah, it was a total disaster. So, but okay, it's a nice game, so, but it's, I know, the good thing is that I could recover, so, and the last round, so after this miraculous, game with Wesley, when I just saved a total lost end game, Actually, I was about to resign, a couple of times, but then, he just, he missed a few wins, and then suddenly I created chances. So, and it's, it always happened with Blitz. So that's why he got panicked, and maybe even in the final position he could still go rook c1, but it was already, it was rook on b1. He wasn't sure. So after I saved the game, I said, well, let's try again. And then Hikaru, was very gracious because, he just played a very bad move, bishop d4, and then gave up a piece. I don't know why. So this was totally, just unexplainable to me.
And that allowed you to win the last 2 games, and you seem quite satisfied. That last game you played against Fabi was a nice little attack.
Actually, last game, it's sometimes, this is the old memories just being revived. I played this move, bishop f5. It's against a British player, Webb. It was the first round of European Team Championship in 1980. And it was my first actually game for the Soviet national squad. So I was a second reserve, you know. So, and he played d4, e4, and knight. I think he played knight g5, rook e8, and it's just, you know. And I was very proud of this move bishop f5 because it allowed me to meet d4 with e4. So and I won a very nice game. So his knight actually, you know, was rotten on h3. I just pushed it there. The way Caruana played, I mean, just was, you know, it was so easy for black because, you know, I could build, you know, my momentum there, just, you know, and it just reminded me of the last game I played with Nigel here, just also, you know, having, you know, all the pieces there. So it was easy. So easy, but, you know, it's still, you know, I enjoyed it, you know, and it's just, I like the moment when I could sacrifice my, you know, sort of counter push, you know, g4, just to keep all the pawns, you know, out of the board, and then just to have the final attack. And then rook h8, king g8, bishop f8 was nice.
It was very nice.
So, okay, nice finish. So it's the, okay, I'm quite happy again. As I said, I won 2 micro matches. I ended +1. So again, I did better than many expected. So I didn't.
I don't know. Yasser thought you were going to win the whole thing.
No, but look, you know, yesterday I missed my chance. So this is just, it's because, you know, we can go on analyzing it, but yesterday I missed really big chance. So this is winning, you know, just not blundering these 2 nights. So just, you know, scoring probably a point and a half against So in these 2 games. That would be a very different match, a very different tournament for me.
Absolutely. We see that you're giving your winnings to the U.S. Olympic team. Tell us why you felt that would be a good idea.
Look, yes, this is, I'm an amateur. I'm not a professional player. So I just, you know, I think it's, you know, it's they were gracious. They wanted to play this event, and this is, I thought it would be nice, you know, if I make the donation. So okay. I hope it will be a bigger donation. but whatever it is, it goes to the team, and I wish them good luck in Baku.
Well, we absolutely appreciate that. Your hometown, the Baku,
yep.
in fact. So, will we see more of Garry Kasparov playing Blitz? After all, the openings don't seem to matter as much. All this opening development over the last 10 years, it's all about instinct. It's all about understanding chess. You seem to be rising to the occasion, showing those old skills. A lot more Blitz from you?
You know, it's right now just, you know, being fresh after 2 straight victories against Nakamura and Caruana in last 2 games. Yeah, I'm, you know, inclined to say yes. But, you know, just remembering, you know, my emotions last night, you know, this morning. So I'm not so sure. Look, you know, I think it is just, I think I proved that I could play against them. So it's a lot of fun. So, and yeah, maybe but I probably need, you know, if I take the challenge again, you know, I would do probably a more serious preparation because, you know, you have so many things, you know, floating in the head, you know, at my age, you know, you have family, you have other things, and I have lectures, you know, I have writings, I do, you know, a lot of stuff on Twitter, on Facebook, and so there's the political appearances, and then you just have to think about Scotch, you know, and then you have to think about other things, and it's just, and, you know, it's the problem is, you know, it's many positions is difficult for me to play because, you know, because I don't have this practice. So this is they play some positions so often, like, you know, the Berlin or classical Ruy Lopez or Queen's Gambit. Yeah, I mean I know how to play them, but in Blitz it's very difficult. You know that, you know, just to take this challenge because, you know, it's all about instincts, and you know, they're much better prepared for that. So if it happens again, so I will probably, you know, look at, you know, some other ideas, but, you know, it's when I had my chance to attack and just, you know, to sacrifice some material, so I did well.
Yeah, you did more than well. You acquitted yourself brilliantly. I've been calling your games and matches since 1994, and it's always a pleasure to see you play, and seeing you now in fine form is excellent. We want to see more of it, absolutely. I think the fans are calling for it. Garry Kasparov, thank you. One of the top 10 players in the world. Blitz has been his calling card for years and years, and many thought he was going to be the favorite to win this event. He did deliver on that. First of all, Hikaru, congratulations on first place.
Thanks.
After yesterday, you felt shaky. You said it didn't seem like you were playing your best chess for sure, but you were still tied at the top. Today, you seem to have your game face on from the very first round. What was your attitude? Did it shift going into today that this was not an exhibition event, but it was time for you to win this tournament?
I mean, I don't think it was that. I think it's just yesterday I was just not seeing anything. Like, every game yesterday I was losing at some point. There's no doubt about that. And, I mean, okay, if you play one bad game, 2, 3, you know, it can happen. But to just be, like, much worse loss in every single one, I mean, I just wasn't there yesterday. But today, yeah, today things went, I mean, a lot better for me. So it was pretty smooth, I would say.
How does that happen? How does the switch just go off? One day everything's going badly, the next day suddenly you're a genius.
I mean, that happens to everyone. You have your good days and your bad days. But I think today, more importantly, I mean, there was one player who really didn't play well today. And I think that was Fabiano, and because of that, I mean, several of us were able to rack up a lot of points, and that's, I mean, what made the difference. I mean, I played fine against Wesley. I did well against him. I did not do so well against Gary, obviously, despite some good positions. So yeah, it was pretty balanced, but I took advantage of the opportunities when they arose, today especially.
Your defensive skills were really on call against Gary that one game that you played when he played Knight G3.
Well, I was a little bit fortunate in that one, but I mean the first game of the day against Gary, where I was black, I was quite happy with the way I defended, because I think Gary's preparation was quite good for this event in that it wasn't, I mean, okay, obviously chess has changed. You can't just win games out of the opening, but he did find ways to create positions where it was much easier for him to play than it was for us. And when that happens in normal games, I mean, it's a challenge. But when it happens in Blitz, where you don't have a lot of time to figure it out, it becomes especially tricky. And so I mean, I thought Gary was quite good at that today. I mean, and I mean, he probably should have finished in second, I think.
What are your thoughts about Kasparov playing more chess? Do you think it's great for the game that he's playing in these Blitz events, showcasing his old skills?
Yeah, it's always a good thing. I think. I mean, I think the main thing is it's clear that, you know, he's not you know, he's not done. He's still quite competitive. And I think if he's competitive, I don't know why he shouldn't play. I mean, I think playing normal terms, of course, takes too much time, and it's a real grind. Especially at his age, but still, I mean, he's a competitive player, and these exhibitions, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't. I think it's very good for chess.
Your feeling about winning this event, you did not do as well in the U.S. Championship as you might have hoped. There was two games you didn't like in the U.S. Championship that decided it for you, but you wanted to win this, of course.
Yeah, I mean, to not win something here would have been a little bit disappointing, but I'm just happy that I was able to play well today, because I feel like the last couple days, I mean, I've just been like starting to lose it a little bit, just too much chess since you know, February. So it's kind of the end of a long series of tournaments. I'm just happy that I was able to win today, and now I can relax for a few months.
Few months. What's your next tournament?
Well, maybe it's not a few months. I guess it's the Grand Chess Tour in June, like
Paris.
June 5th or something. But I mean, I've been on the road since like early January. I haven't been at home since then. So it's just it's been a lot of chess, a lot of traveling. I mean, a lot of ups and downs. I mean, candidates especially. So I'm just glad that I can get a break now.
Well, the life of a professional chess player, of course, it's never done. There are tournaments to play. But you are now the champion of this tournament, and congratulations on showcasing your skills today.
Thanks, Maurice.
Hikaru Nakamura, the winner of Ultimate Blitz, showing why he's simply one of the best Blitz players.